we are being recorded now. So today is February 2nd, and the first topic we have in the agenda is Keptn developer meeting. So currently what we have for votes is that there is a preference for having meetings at 8 a.m. UTC, so 9 a.m. UTC, either on Wednesday, so basically it's current time slot for APAC community meeting, or on Thursday. And the question is actually how we organize that, because historically we had two types of meetings. We had Keptn community meeting and Keptn developer meeting every other week at the same time slot on Thursday. But right now it seems that they are more or less converged together. So my main question would be to Johannes, how do you actually see it going forward? As separate meetings, or do we do it just Keptn community meeting and do all the development discussions there? What's your experience?
Actually, I would vote for continue the way it was, meaning that every second week we have a more engineering or development focused meeting, and the other week we are open to the community. I mean, also in the other meeting, but it's then more driven by topics that are currently ongoing in a broader scope and not sprint related. I think the only thing which will the date and the time will, as it looks currently, will move to Thursday from 10 to 11 p.m. AM. So we combine those.
Yeah. So what we could do then? We can say that we start coming developer meetings. I'm not sure, starting from tomorrow or maybe starting from the next week. Maybe next week. And we start them on Thursdays. Then we have meetings for community in APAC region. We can keep them as is on Wednesday, or we could also move them to Thursday. And we will still have Keptn community meeting every other week at 5 p.m. Or 4 p.m. UTC, which is usual time. So it will basically happen tomorrow as planned.
I think
Right.
if I could just put my opinion here, that the individuals in APAC are heavily developer focused anyway, so I don't think they would necessarily mind listening into the development topics. I don't think that would, knowing the people, I think it would fit quite well. But yeah, it's just.
Yep. So, well, a developer meeting remains open to everyone. So it will just become APAC friendly. So everyone is welcome to join. Then, we can see whether we need a separate community meeting. So for today, we had actually two items. So for Brett, Mako, and for Mika, presented their Keptn experiences, but they are not on the call. So I guess it's going to be moved. And if it gets moved, then we might have a question whether we keep doing separate meetings. But let's see. So I suggest that for the next week we meet on Thursday, and then we see whether we have enough attendance for the community meeting in 2 weeks. Okay. Let's work for everyone, then we'll keep it as is, and then adjust as we go. Okay. So On other important news, so we have Mac on the call. So Mac joins to contribute to Keptn documentation, tutorials, and other topics. So Mac, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I am so happy to be here. I'm excited. It's my day 2.5, so we're still counting. Some of my thoughts going in, we'll get more details and action soon. But in general, we want to make the documentation a comprehensive collection of the information that all users need to be successful with Keptn. And we want to get it structured, easily locate the information they need. Easier said than done. It will be an ongoing project, but we'll work on it. What this means, potential users who are just curious can quickly set up an evaluation copy of Keptn to explore its features. New users can easily find the information they need to integrate Keptn into their existing environment without too much stress. And we also want the documentation to support people who have gotten started with Keptn and want to move forward in their knowledge, maybe becoming even power users. We also want to encourage community members of all levels to contribute to the documentation. I know for years, I personally was a big fan of open source, but I don't think I knew enough to contribute anything really. And then I discovered that even just coming in and editing other documentation or commenting on it or testing it was invaluable to the community. So we want to get more people involved in the contribution. We also want to ensure that people who contribute software to the Keptn project have support if they need some help getting the documentation done. Their new software will become part of Keptn, and we want the new documentation to be excellent. But my experience over the years, there have been a few sterling exceptions, but most people who write great software are either not great writers, or I've met some that were fabulous writers, but they hated every minute of it. So we want to make this a pleasant thing and be there to support them. So those are sort of my goals that I'm thinking of as we get started here. I look forward to hearing from people. I am on the Slack channels, and feel free to ping me if you have opinions. I will respond, I will note, and eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to fulfill what you're hoping for.
Really great to have you on board, Meg. Hi, I'm
Hi.
Johannes. Whenever you
Hi.
have questions related to the documentation, please feel free to reach out to me, as yeah, I was one of the people who started everything and yeah, wrote the first pieces of the documentation, and since then it grew step by step. So whenever you have questions, don't
Oh,
hesitate
thank
to
you.
reach out.
Yeah, I'm just starting to read. I'm making all my notes and things, so that'll be very useful to get. There's history. And I would say it's a very nice start. It's I'm looking forward to working with it and doing more with it, of course, but that's because I'm an egotistical writer who thinks I can do it better than anybody else. But this will be fun. We will be talking soon, I'm sure.
Hey, Meg. Yeah, I've actually been having a similar discussion with Brad. Brad can't make it on the call, unfortunately, tonight, but I know he's introduced Keptn to a couple of his colleagues, and they've had some feedback. So yeah, let's have that discussion as well. I think Brad was even talking about kind of a focus group, or just getting a few Keptn beginners and get it, because everyone on this call has been involved for quite some time. So it's nice to get that fresh face and just what if you came to this for the very first time? What would you think? What would your feedback be? So
That'd
yeah,
be wonderful, because my experience with this is it's going to have to be iterative. We make an improvement and then we look at that again and we make more improvements. And it's always a fine line you don't want to overwhelm people when they're just starting with too much information. And yet I'm as guilty as the next person. I start looking and I'm like, well, what if I wanted to do such and such here? And what if I wanted to do such and so to try to get that balance, I have some ideas about how we might do it, but I appreciate all the support I can get. I will need lots of it, I know.
Yeah. Welcome, Meg. Yeah, for us, documentation is quite important topic for sure, and we have a few items on the roadmap already. So I'll probably show how it's currently organized to make. And so we have Keptn roadmap. It's a GitHub project. And on this project, we started putting some topics beyond Keptn core development. So we have Keptn enhancement proposals. We'll talk about them a bit later. But also there are some items focused on documentation. And for example, currently we have a new lightweight tutorial, which made some progress, and we can get it together over the line. Also, we have some items for documentation science revamp, so that maybe introducing documentation as code. Not how it's implemented now when we have a separate repository for the documentation, but integrating docs right inside the projects and aggregating them, let's say, with Entera. Also improving the website, improving contributing guidelines, as you mentioned, Mac, and also get restructuring tutorials. Well, maybe it's also aligns with your intent to keep them simple and to present use cases in a quick way. So this is what we have now. Obviously, it's just a starter, and we can have more documentation items. And once we have more contributors to documentation, we can actually realign how it works. So, but yeah, it's great to have you here, and yeah, any feedback about the documentation. So I guess you will be also going through tutorials and giving us a lot of feedback. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
So what's next for us? Do we have anything else to discuss about the documentation while we're there, or would we like to move on to other topics? I've seen other patches for 0.13 branch already. So
You mean the documentation branch?
yeah. So maybe you would like to quickly speak about it, how you see it's landing. No, it's already merged.
Once. It's already merged, yeah. The documentation for 0.13 is in preparation. And Mac, maybe already one interesting note here is that currently the documentation is set up in a way that we take the old one from 0.12, do a copy and paste, and then add the delta to the new one. And unfortunately, as you can see here, we have a copy of 200 files, and it's a copy paste from the old, and then the team is working or doing here, the improvements and the new features. And once the release is ready, and we just enable this documentation and render it and disable old ones so that the list does not get longer. We always show that the latest 4 releases, and yeah, that's currently the way the Keptn team is working here.
Okay.
So yeah, basically here's the list. Yeah, the problem right now that all this documentation is basically indexed by Google, and if you look for something, it's not necessary that you will get to latest version. Well, it's almost guaranteed that it's not. I usually get the oldest version. And yeah, there is a lot of other experience issues we could address over time. So for example, you can see that here's a badge, but for example, for 0.10 and 0.11, we forgot to add this badge when doing copies. So these are minor things. Again, they could be resolved by tooling. So it's not something we would expect developers to actually maintain all these bits.
Do we somewhere? I haven't. I'm starting to look at this. If I'm running the current version and want to see just what's changed in the new, do we have that someplace published or?
Yeah, so for changelog, we have a few items. So firstly, for Keptn itself, it's on GitHub. So Keptn. There is changelog on GitHub releases that basically integrates all the repository. You can see that it's not just the core, but also some services integrate like secret service, resource service, also Jmeter service, which should be probably detached because it's execution plane. But all of that has integrated changelog. Here's, for example, changelog for 0.12. With all the features, etc., aggregated. So it's automated changelog. For we have automatic generation, and also when there is a preview for the release, the preview changelog is also published by the team.
Okay,
So
and
this
now,
is
but
what
the
we have
release
at the
notes are
moment.
outside of the documentation? Are they published
Right.
as part of the documentation, or are they off elsewhere?
They're not published changelogs, but at the same time, there are also upgrade guidelines. And upgrade guidelines are published as a part of the documentation.
Okay. We'll figure this all out. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, there are some items. Well, generally, all the information is available to users. How we represent that, how we collect that, something we could improve. Also, yeah, changelogs. There is automated part, which is just generated from commit history. Also, there is a handwritten part. So, for example, key announcements, references to caps. So this is what is being prepared by Johannes, Giovanni, and the team for each release. And yeah, so some copy editing reviews there would be also helpful. So yeah, this is basically also something to study over time.
Yes.
But yeah, we can work together on that. Okay. So for 0.13, I think we will be also looking at that, and maybe a question, which version would be better to use for the tutorials right now? Would it
Right.
be a preview version of 0.13 or would it be 0.12?
Is there a lot of difference between the two?
Slightly. What's actually the difference between those? Not that many end user facing changes. No. More on the core side, meaning behind the scenes, but not really much that is user impacting.
And currently we don't have breaking changes for 0.13, right?
Right. Yeah. Events were not touched, neither the database.
If there was a policy there, because in the future there might be breaking changes. So if the policy is to always use the bleeding edge, you could run into a situation where you're now running tutorials that you've specifically written that aren't going to work with the currently GA version. So my first thought there is always go with the one that's kind of GA at the moment, and then you're giving yourself that flexibility to change it in the future. That's just my thought.
Yeah.
This one. So yes, I think thanks a lot for the information and insights. So definitely look into that. And yes, so we tentatively planned discussions with Brett and Mika about Keptn experiences and my Supermon integration. So they are not on the call. I will reach out to them separately and see how we actually get it scheduled. So we could proceed with Cap 68, Johannes. Would you like to take over?
Yeah, of course. This one.
Yeah.
Well, what I did this week was filing a new enhancement proposal, which is a use case or a user-facing one. It's the capability of retriggering a sequence that was already executed but probably failed. This request is coming in almost every second week. Someone is asking for this feature, and I now sat down and created this enhancement proposal where I describe the persona, because I, as a site reliability engineer or a DevOps engineer who is using Keptn, wants to retrigger a failed sequence, meaning in the same stage, or there can also be the situation that I would like to retrigger a sequence really starting from the first stage. These are the two use cases. What are the drivers behind this enhancement proposal? It's first a core functionality of an automation platform that I can rerun automated processes. Then we want to have also a better experience for newcomers in Keptn, because they are most likely failing or have failing sequences at the beginning, and then they want to retry it again and again until the point they have a running one. And this should be as easy as possible. And also when it comes to integrating third-party tools, then I, as a site reliability engineer or DevOps engineer, want to rerun my sequences to test new integrations and also to check whether they are working or not. And for this, also this functionality is needed and mandatory. From my point of view, there are two levels where I can retrigger a sequence. As I said, the first one is here. Let me just open that one, where I get this rerun or retrigger functionality directly at the sequence level. And when I click that one, this sequence will get executed a second time, meaning that it will show up here again, and will get executed then by Keptn. And the second level where I see a rerun functionality is here on the top. When I click this button, I will actually create a new sequence. The content of the sequence is identical to that one, and the outcome would be that a new sequence pops up here in the left menu because it's a new one, and then it starts from the first stage, and then it goes through all the other stages. This is the second entry point.
Yeah. Maybe user experience feedback. So text is short, but in some cases it might be essential for users to know what they're triggering. Because if you, let's say, retrigger the stage when it's not intended, you can actually impact your deployment.
Right.
So maybe in this case, it makes sense to be more explicit about what is it on the web interface. So rerun stage, rerun sequence text, and maybe other option is to have confirmation window. So are you sure you want to run that? These details, what exactly you're going to rerun?
Yep, totally agree. And thanks for this input. I also have 3 questions currently open that I wanna or need to answer, and I will immediately add this node, which is about confirmation dialog to inform user about consequences. Okay, I have 4 questions here. They are already more detailed ones, but they also need to get answered before we kick off working on that one. All right.
So, sorry, this is probably one for the developer meeting or even the thread. But I know the cloud event spec, are the IDs going to be regenerated, or is the expectation that you're literally sending the identical payload?
Very good question. In the first use case, it's really the identical payload from the sequence. It's a one-to-one. And when I'm here on that level, then the IDs will be new ones, because I will get a new context ID, as well as a new sequence ID. And this is also the reason why a new sequence will pop up here. Yeah, those are the details behind.
Just while we're on this screen, you've got the new sequence. Okay, I see. That's where it's going to pop up. I thought you were saying we could trigger a sequence from this page.
No. This here it's popping up, correct? It's
Okay.
where the new sequence will be shown. Here it's on continuing this list, and here it's on the top, have a new one there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then I will continue with the second topic I have added to the list for today, and it's a brief update on CAP 65. Let's just jump to that one. It's all about providing the capabilities of having declarative configuration and GitOps in Keptn. And here I asked Thomas to provide this picture, as it clearly, or it summarizes the idea that is written down in this CAP, where we can see the Keptn Git operator, which is taking responsibility over the code repository and the configuration repository, and then applies stages, services, and projects to Kubernetes cluster. And on the other side, we have the Keptn operator, which is taking those entities and then talking to the Keptn API for creating a service, creating a stage project, and so on. And my proposal the last time was to do a split of this CAP, and the split would be right here, having the left part, which is the GitOps operator, and the right part where we talk about the Keptn operator. So we have it then more focused. And it's an action item I would like to follow on. It's really splitting those two, or splitting this CAP in two components. And now with this picture in place, I can easily explain where this split should happen.
Is there any benefit? Let's assume that this is split and the Git operator is done and deliverable. Is there any benefit to rolling that out on a cluster without the Keptn operator?
No, valid point. It needs the Keptn operator. This is a prerequisite for the GitOps operator, meaning that when we focus on that topic, this one has higher priority. And once that one is done, then we can think of working on the GitOps operator. Just the GitOps operator does not help you. It needs the Keptn operator, which then does actually the work of talking to Keptn.
Yeah, but on the other hand, a Keptn operator can operate separately because you can submit CRDs to that, and it can manage your instance. So, well, in some regards, Keptn operator independently might be useful, especially, for example, for tools that integrate Keptn, Crateo Ops, for example, which was presented a month ago, because they can just use CRDs to configure the instance. So I think that Keptn splitting it was definitely a right action. And if Keptn operator gets delivered, maybe we'll get some adoption even without the GitOps flow.
Correct. Any other questions on that one?
Nope, all good.
Yeah. So the prototype is basically available for evaluation. Thomas merged the recent changes. So if somebody wants to try it out, it would be nice. We might edit as a GSOC project idea because we had some ideas how we could actually leverage that. But yeah, it's let's see, to be discussed.
Okay. Then, Oleg, I'm handing back to you.
Okay. I need a hotkey. Okay, so yeah, Keptn incubation updates. So what happens there? Yesterday there was a TAC up delivery meeting. Elias and Thomas prepared update for Keptn. Well, it was a quick one. So currently we wait for review by the TOC. So yesterday there was election cycle of CNCF TOC ending. So hopefully we will have some traction after that. Some projects already get follow-ups. So for example, Litmus Chaos went through voting process. There is Knative process started. So they are handling the queue, and Keptn is on this queue as well as backstage, with which we are integrating currently. So no ETA at the moment, but hopefully we'll get the final decision in 1 or 2 months. Another side which was discussed is security audit, because there is security tag which is actually driving the audit, and Argo CD is the project that they're currently reviewing, and Keptn is next in line. So they either finish Argo review first or start Keptn in parallel after completing Cloud Custodian, which is much smaller than Argo. So it's to be seen. But they're currently rebuilding the roadmap, and in a few weeks they should have an update how they plan to handle Keptn. So these are two items happening there. One thing for us, we might need to revise the due diligence document, because the current due diligence document was created by Jürgen in June, and since that it got updated a lot, well, outdated a lot. First of all, we delivered a lot of features from the roadmap declared in this due diligence. There are new roadmap changes which need to be reflected. There are new adopters, new integrations, and all of that is actually important for evaluation by the TOC. I believe this pull request. Oh, native. So yeah, just showing how it looks like. So we have this application, and so there is a due diligence document referenced by Jürgen below, I believe. Yeah, his one, and this one is quite dated. So yeah, all summary, all relevant. But future plans, so you can see zero downtime upgrades. It's not future plans, it's currently a work in progress on the roadmap. Keptn Uniform first part was delivered. Security access control is basically CAP 60, which is planned for future. Eventing standard is something we have in progress. Remote management of execution plane, yeah, it's CAP 65 and 67 we discussed recently. So we definitely need to do some updates here. And also mentioning new integrations, because it's super important to have all possible integrations here. And currently we have more operators. Yeah, we have a prototype for crossplane is currently shipped. We have backstage integration work in progress, and we have more and more operators. So I plan to update this document, but to do that, I need to sign off from the TUC chair that I do update. So that's the current summary. I guess a lot of paperwork, but we should be able to get it done. And yeah, maybe I will be also looking at core infrastructure initiative checklist, which is currently being transferred to OpenSSF, because there is a lot of quality gates, including community health, security, project structure. We currently have 99% for 100% passing checklist, and I will get this 1% done. But after that, we also have 200% for silver and gold status, with a lot of best practices we actually already address, and some which would be nice to address. So it's something I will be looking in after FOSDEM, because it would be important to get it handled. And they would expect it to be handled for graduation eventually. So we need to do it. Okay. Any questions on graduation? Or did I just confuse everyone?
More or less.
Well, it's a lot of bureaucratic purpose with a valiant goal to have us incubating project in the CNCF, with assumption that it would help us to derive contributions. It would unlock help from the CNCF marketing team. It would unlock LFX tools access, because, for example, even easy CLA we discussed for improving documentation contribution flow, or basically getting rid of DCO. You have to be in an incubating project to get access to that, or to get an exception. Currently, I'm working on getting an exception for that, but once we're incubating process, we are officially a member of the CNCF. So sandbox projects are considered as full members, and yeah, it creates some additional obstacles for us. Also, same for KubeCon. If we are incubating, we will be able to reserve some time in the agenda and maybe booths and other things. Okay. So I guess that's all in our agenda. Do we have any other topics we would like to discuss? We have some more time.
No, nothing from me.
Same here.
Yeah, Adam, I actually started a doodle poll for the presentation with you and Brett. So do you plan to present together as the Guatemala meeting?
That happened. That was a last minute thing. Brad invited me, but oh, represent you mean? Okay. Let me speak to Brad on that as soon as I can.
Yeah, so for me, either option works. Just wanted to understand and adjust accordingly. But yeah, it would be really nice to have this presentation. I watched it with subtitles. It was really nice. So, well, it was half English after all. But yeah, if we could do a full English version, I think it would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking forward to it. So that's it from me. And yeah, if no other topics, we can just shut down the meeting. And thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
I think that in 2 weeks, we can target having the same meeting. And then we see how the developer meeting and community meeting interact together. Because personally, I would like to have more developers at the community meeting and to not create these silos. So if we can merge it in one meeting, maybe it's not the worst thing to do. So let's see.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Thanks for your
all.
time, everyone.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye,
Thanks.
all.
And
Bye.
Mike.